Hello and welcome to the Draft Talk podcast. We're back, and as the draft is creeping up on us, it's the best time of the draft season. I think we are about to start our top fives, and we've got a very special one to kick it off. But before we do, I'm Brian, and joining me, as ever, is these two legends, Owen and Stu. How are you doing, guys?
Yeah, it's starting to get to my favorite part of the season as well, where me and Owen get to involve in a lively debate about who we think are the top five players at certain positions. It's usually a lot of fun. Will we reach an agreement? Probably not, but we'll just see how it goes.
We're not normally that far away, but for the listeners and watchers, it means you normally have quite a different process of how we go about reaching our conclusions. So it's always good to bounce off each other. And this Edge group is a good class, so it'll be interesting to see how far away we maybe are from each other.
Indeed. For those who don't know, the guys have ranked their favourite prospects. This week we're doing the edge defenders. It's very exciting. Pass rushers, etc. But yeah, they've ranked them and come up with the top five. We're going to go through five up to one being the best. And without further ado, I think we better start going. All right, I'll give you the honour of kicking off this year's top five series. Who is your number five edge, please?
I knew you were going to come to me first, and this decision has been giving me panic attacks maybe for the last week. I found it really difficult because I think there's 7 edge rushers here that are all first round type players, and so it's really difficult leaving some out. But at number 5, I've gone for TJ Parker from Clemson. As I said, I did really struggle with it, but he is a bendy, explosive edge rusher with sudden burst, violent hands, and he's capable of generating consistent pressure and finishing plays at the quarterback level. Look, he didn't have the best 2025 that we would have hoped for. I had him as the number one prospect going into this year. I was well too high in hindsight, even if he'd had a good year, but his production fell off a cliff, although the underlying numbers suggest that he was kind of similar. So he got 41 pressures in 2025, 51 in 2024, 16 hits in 2025, 22 the year before, and his pressure rate was just a percent either way. I think when people might be surprised I have TJ Parker this high. I think when we're talking about TJ Parker, we need to bring out an old draft talk favourite, and that's the bin, if anyone's got one handy. And the 2025 Clemson Tigers season is going in the bin, because at this point, what do we have to do to evaluate these Clemson players? Because whether it's Parker, whether it's Peter Woods, Avion Terrell, Antonio Williams, Kate Klubnik, they were all meant to be fighting to be the number one prospect taken at their position, and it just didn't happen. The season completely fell apart. So I think the context is really going to matter when it comes to talking about Clemson players between now and, to be honest, even into their rookie season. But what jumped out on tape with TJ Parker and why I maybe have him ahead of some other players, which we may end up speaking about, is the explosive first step. He's naturally bendy at 260 pounds, which is heavier some of the other guys. He's got a legit pass rush plan, which you see in action in terms of sacks in 2024. How many? It was 11 sacks in 2024, was just 5 in 2025, but as I've just explained there, that needs to be taken into context. I just think that his ability to play with timing, with leverage, he has the counters. We just didn't see enough of it in 2025. So I think you go back and watch the 2024 tape, which was exceptional, and say I've toyed around with it, but in the end I've stuck with my gut, hoping maybe for a James Pierce type resurgence here, where he had a bad year and then went on to be outstanding as a rookie. But I just think TJ Parker is a better overall prospect, not necessarily a better overall player at this point than a couple of the others, which we'll get into and it'll become clearer as we go on. There maybe are some safer evaluations out there which I've let out, but at £260, I think he's sturdy, thick, quick off the snap. Weaknesses, he struggled to corner consistently this year and he got stuck on blocks a lot more. I wonder what the impact was there with the Clemson guys. It could be a little bit of added weight, but his get-off was impacted, and I think that's the guys he was surrounded by, and the kind of the lack of the twitch there. But his pass rush win rate is high. He converts tackles. I'm just confident that he would be a really good first-round pick and will be a long-time NFL player.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what you said there, and I don't think you've got him too highly because I have him as number five as well.
Okay, good.
So yeah, we've we've hit off pretty well.
Yeah, he seems
Um,
to have fallen off, but I think we're recording this
I
after the
think he's
Senior
someone who's
Bowl. I
going to.
think that's helped a little bit as well.
Yeah, I think TJ Parker is someone who's going to bounce back up boards a little bit again. He
Yeah,
was, if you do these, you see these way too early mock drafts. TJ Parker was top five pick.
yeah,
Now he's dropping sometimes out of first rounds, but I think he's going to spring back up into that first round conversation. He's still an exciting player for me. He's a twitchy, explosive athlete, and he's got really good short area quickness. Um, he's athletic. He has got good bet. He's not a Von Miller type bender, but he's a lot bendier than some of these other type
yeah,
of guys we see. I think he's got a really explosive get off. He plays with power and leverage, and he's got converts that speed to power very well. Um, he's got more than one pass rush move. He uses a various swipes, chops, counters, and he can set a reasonably strong edge because he's a bigger guy as well. You know, he has that over some of the other guys we might talk about later as well. And he's good at diagnosing plays, and he can change his direction mid rush. He does some say he's got a range of movements. He sometimes does rely a bit too much on power, but I think he can develop his plan. Um, Block recognition and getting off the blocks you talked about, Owen, is maybe something that he needs to just work on a little bit. But I think he could play in a various type of schemes because he's slightly bigger than some of these guys, but he's quick enough to play on a slightly wider formation as well. So you could easily see him playing all three downs
yeah,
for a team at that edge, and I think he's just been stuck on a team that hasn't been good, and I think the collective has brought him down. Um, he might have played better on a better team. I don't know. But again, you've got to think he's got to have just been his best, regardless of how the rest of them around him. But it is hard on that line if the whole team is having a bad season. It's not easy to have a good season as well. But I think he is someone who will project very well, and I would happily back end of the first round. I
yeah.
wouldn't be surprised at all seeing TJ Parker come off then.
Yeah, I find that the Clemson guys, they just all seemed there was no collective team unit philosophy there. It was you're evaluating it. So I wonder whether Parker, although he has this pass rush plan, was effectively just working on instinct and almost
Yeah.
they all just seemed like they were hoping for the best. There was no bouncing off each other. They were all um, just not working to the same timing. So I think,
Yeah, it just seemed like they were all doing their own thing and just,
yeah,
yeah, okay, all right, okay, I'm going to have to go now, or,
yeah,
oh, he's gone that way, I'm going to. There didn't seem to be cohesion in that unit at all.
yeah. There was no way that you could have the twitchiest edge rusher in there, and I don't think they would have seen massive success. They might have been better, of course, but I don't think that would have changed the success of that unit and the defense.
There we go. We're underway for the 2026 draft season. Stu, I'll let you go. That was obviously both your number fives done. So kick us off with your number four, please.
Number four for me will be the first of two trips to Miami, I think. So I have Akheem Mesidor from the Miami Hurricanes, who made it all the way to the national championship. The one critique everyone is going to say this guy is going to be 25. Um, I don't really care. I think he's ready to play now. And if you get 5 good years in a rookie contract out of him, then so be it. I think he was an absolute menace playing alongside Rueben Bain for Miami this year. He took real advantage of a lot of attention being paid to his running mate. And I think that's where you would probably see him best in the NFL. If you've got a good edge rusher on one side, plonk this guy on the other side. He's a Canadian. He's a big guy, 6'3", about that 280 pounds. He is as strong as an ox. He's a real bruiser of a defender, really. He's not one of these guys who's going to bend round the edge and get round the outside shoulder of tackles. But he can play in a various alignments along that defensive line from maybe the three tech outwards. He's got a good first step. He really powers through contact and he walks those blockers back nicely. He does have a good hand usage as well. He's not just all about power, but that is his main calling card. And he's a really good run defender. He's strong and stout against the run. he isn't the longest player, and he's definitely not got speed, this big speed that some of these other guys, and he is older. And I think that is going to be something that people are going to come down for. But I think he could just plug and play immediately. And a variety of alignments. You can kick him inside. You can put him slightly on the over the tackles as well. He's a high motor. He works really hard. I think he's disruptive, and he will cause a lot of chaos when he's on the field.
Yeah, I really, really struggled with Akheem Mesidor. I had him at 6. The things I couldn't get off, the age is obviously a concern. I do wonder as well, considering the space that we're talking him in, is I think he needs someone opposite him. That when you go back and watch the years that having Bain there completely unlocked his ability. So I don't think you can put him in straight away as a number 1. I think you want him working off someone. So if you go in, put him next to any name you're speaking about, but put him next to someone who legitimately can rush the passer as well, rather than him working on his own. And I think that's where he'll thrive. I would have liked to have seen maybe a little bit more production as well, but it was comparing him to TJ Parker that I think Mesidor has the much higher floor, but I also wonder whether he's already hit his ceiling, whether this is what he is now. Strong hands, good use of leverage, consistent power, holds the edge, sets against the run, and he's more physical and NFL ready right now than other players, maybe some that we're even maybe going to speak about. So yeah, high floor NFL starter. He could be a 6 to 9 sack guy for a long time in the NFL, and he's crafty as well as powerful. Weaknesses: age. He'll be 25 when he's drafted. He's already claiming his state pension. He's neutralised in short yardage areas, and I think he can lose balance when he's taken into. So the initial step, if he is knocked off balance, he's not able to reset and get his feet underneath him. That might be a little bit because of his height as well, at 6'5", and there's no way you can put him in coverage. And this is edge rushers, but when you hear edge rushers, let's be honest, you hear pass rusher, but there is going to be some coverage stuff there. There's absolutely no way that you're going to be able to get him to do that. That he's going to be on the line. Setter, because he just lacks the instincts to follow receivers. He allowed 6 catches on 7 targets in 2025, and he missed 2023 with a foot injury. But overall, a player that you really, really like, and use a first-round pick on him, I think you'll be very, very happy.
Yeah, you definitely want him going forwards, not backwards. Yeah. But it takes all sorts of defensive ends for me, and I think that's where you need different types of players, and he is slightly different to a lot of these guys we're having. So I really liked him, and I think you could. I don't think you're going to need to take two years to get him playing. You can plug him in and straight away, and that's maybe where he had an advantage over some of these other guys for me.
Yeah, 100%, and maybe this is why the rankings are so difficult this year as well. Is that each of the top, I say the top 7 guys, they're all very different to each other. So it's just a matter of picking what flavour you like. It'd be even interesting to see how that falls out on the draft night.
Indeed. Thank you, guys. Owen, who's your number 4 then?
Yeah, talk about different types, different sizes. I've gone for Cashius Howell from Texas A&M at 4, 6'3", 255 pounds. He's slim, and he is a pure pass rusher. You are not going to get anything else from Cashius Howell apart from pass rush, because he can't hold up against the run really well, and you're not going to drop him to coverage. But if you're after a high motor, explosive pass rusher who's violent hands, elite bend in this class to turn the corner in one fluid motion, natural pass rushing instincts, and can collapse the pocket with power on splash plays when he needs to, then you're going to be really happy taking Cashius Howell. Snapshot: say when you hear edge rusher, most people hear pass rusher, as I just said, and that's exactly what Cashius Howell is. That's why he can't really be more than number 4 in this class for me, because he is one-dimensional. But if you're going to be one-dimensional, I'd rather you be more one-dimensional as a pass rusher than a run blocker, as we'll come to with some other players as we talk about them. But so he just lacks any real nuance as a run blocker. But yeah, you talk about explosive first step, an elite bend. He does have some run stopping capability, but he's primarily a pass rusher, and a consistent one at that. High motor, awareness, turnover creation. He does exactly what you want a pass rusher to do. The problem is he's probably going to play at under £250. He doesn't really have counter moves in terms of relying on his speed and his bend. And I do wonder how he will maybe adjust to the power that he'll face in the NFL. But in terms of the numbers, no, absolutely excellent. 11.5 sacks this year, and a very, very disruptive player.
Yeah, I think disruptive is the word for him. He's an absolute menace. He just wants to get in the backfield and get in quarterbacks' faces, and that is his game, and that is his calling card. I have him at number 3.
Okay.
But I probably know why, but we'll come on to that one. Compared to you.
We figured it out.
I figured it out.
We're doing this again.
Same as every year.
Yeah. Copy
every
and paste.
year.
Jalen Walker from last year. Let's copy and paste that conversation.
Copy and paste the conversation. Yeah. Okay. Yes, but he's probably one of the most athletic guys in this class. He plays with his hair on fire when he's going after the quarterback. He just wants to get there as quickly as he can, and that is really his calling card. He does have some pass moves, different in his tool bag. He's not just complete speed. He can use his hands pretty well. He plays through the whistle and he'll chase plays downfield. He's got good read and reaction. He can bend round and flatten that arc really well. Play strength is going to be his issue, I think, when he comes up against some of the really more powerful tackles. If they get their hands on him, I think that will stop him.
I don't think we have an arm length measurement, but I think he's
short.
I think he's going to have short arms. Yeah.
He looks short, but he's played at a high level. He's played at a big program for Texas A&M. I think that he will be a teams will, when they want someone to rush the passer, they'll just that's what they'll get him to do.
Yeah.
If they know it's going to be a passing down, particularly third and long, that's the kind of player that you want on your team who's just going to hunt down, and he's quick enough, for some of these quarterbacks who do move off platform, he can chase them down as well. I can again, that middle of the first round, if not a little bit higher, depending on the class, I would again have no hesitation in taking him if that's what your team needs.
Yeah, he's not going to be for every team for that reason. That he's going to be down to down situational how he's used, and so if you need someone you're going to have to leave on the field for 3 or 4 downs, then Howell probably isn't your guy. You go with Parker or go with Mesidor or go with one of these other guys higher up if you're able to. But what Howell will give you is juice and twitch in passing situations that not many in his class are able to do.
There we go. Your number 3 there, Stu. Can you give us your number 2, please, Stu?
Have we done Owine's number 3?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Don't worry, I've got it.
We're getting the same guys here.
You've got a reason. Okay, fine. We will go to my number 2, which is coming back to Miami, is Rueben Bain, the edge rusher from the Miami Hurricanes. He's one of the most disruptive defensive linemen in college football this year. His name has been high up on draft boards really since the start of this draft cycle, and it hasn't really dropped off. He wasted kind of no time in making an impact in Miami. He is a true freshman. He was already one of the most disruptive defenders. He's really compact, powerful, dense frame, explosive lower body, and he's a proper grown man already entering the NFL. He's not long and wiry like some of the other pass rushers, but he's got really good first step quickness, heavy, strong hands. He uses leverage very, very well, and he's true power through contact type of player. He can convert that speed to power really very quickly, and he's got good pad level as well that the offensive linemen hate kind of dealing with. His pressure rate, disruption rate is very high. He has had some injuries. He creates his own sacks rather than just being that finisher for other teams as well. You could play him a stand-up edge. You could play him hand in the dirt. He could reduce inside if needed to against some guards, depending on the situation as well. He's got power at the point of attack. He's really good at run defense. He's competitive. Arm length, again, is going to be a big question about Rueben Bain. It's been mentioned time and again. and he might just not meet that threshold for some teams who
he's not
do
going
go
to.
traits-wise. He's not a natural fit for every scheme, but he is scheme versatile. He can play in a lot of different schemes. I think he's a really excellent player, and teams will be getting a good defensive lineman if they pick Rueben Bain.
Yep, I've got him at number 2 as well. Just ferocious disruptor off the edge, who's got rare power, relentlessness, and production at the highest level. Multi-dimensional as well in terms of pass rush and run stopping strength, and versatile enough to play along the front. 24% pass rush win rate in 2025, which is exceptional. And he's a power rusher who plays with a high motor, violence. He just terrorizes up front, and with his physicality, with his power, he just has that ability to take over games with it. Instant winner when you give him space too, and that high motor to chase down rushers in the backfield shows up in every game. Consistent dominance since his freshman year. He did miss time in 2024, and I do wonder if he had played in 2024, whether there'd be even more momentum behind Rueben Bain. His biggest weakness that you're going to hear between now and April is that his arm length is 30 3/4 inches. That's going to worry teams. There will be some teams that think that they'll have to play him on the interior because of that. And it's tweener size at 6'3", 277 pounds. But I'm more than comfortable with what I've seen Rueben Bain to play him on the edge. I've got no problems at all with that. My strengths are pretty much the same as what Stu's mentioned in terms of this physical toolkit and his disruption in run defense. Just mentioned in terms of weaknesses that he's like a honing missile at times, that he can give up on assignments and plays where he sees something you think you'll just like him to be a little bit more disciplined and stick on the block that she had, especially in the run game. And then when setting the edge against the run, he's almost gambled to make the splash play at times. It pays off sometimes, but there's going to be occasions in the NFL where that's not going to happen. And I don't think he's particularly comfortable in coverage, but I'm not doing that with Rueben Bain. And if you are, then you're drafting the wrong player.
Okay, we've got a weird way about it, but Stu, I'll let you introduce your number 1, and we'll see where that falls for Owain.
Yeah, so for me, number 1, I have from Texas Tech, David Bailey. Quick step explosiveness is where you're going to start with David Bailey. I'm not sure I would be wrong saying that when he gets to the NFL, he'll have one of the quickest first steps, not amongst rookies, amongst all defensive linemen. He is really quick off that first step. He's often the first player off the ball, and he's immediately creating pressure because of it. He's got a really good pass rush arsenal, cross chop, swims, rips, bull rushes. He can do the lot. He's big, but not the biggest. He's round about that 250 mark. He's not the biggest guy in the world, but he's big enough to play on the edge. His efforts and energy is absolutely relentless. He chases plays downfield all day, and he's really quick at diagnosing what's going on with the play. And he's someone who can get off those blocks very, very quickly. He transferred, so he's only had 1 year at Texas Tech, but he's had a big improvement from when he was a really good player at Stanford as well.
He was excellent there as well, to be fair.
Yeah, he was really good there as well, but he's gone up another level. So can he go up another level playing at the NFL? I think so. He hasn't really been asked to drop into coverage. It's not something that he's really had to do at Texas Tech, but I think he has the ability to do so if need be. I just think you're getting such a really good player. He's polished, he's explosive, he's relentless. I would love to have someone like that on my defensive line, and he's a top guy for me.
Yeah, he's number 3 for me. Led the conference in tackles for a loss, 19.5, and led the FBS with 14.5 sacks, 13 quarterback hits also. Exceptional production and exceptional acceleration, as well as twitchy athleticism. He's hyper agile, twitched up athlete, easy change of direction, high motor, as you said, relentless pursuit in the backfield. 8 forced fumbles across his career too, and just consistent pressure generation, using his hands once he's out of that first step. He does rely on it though. He'll need some technique refinement when he gets to the NFL in terms of honing that natural athleticism that he has, which he uses his momentum in that way to get counter moves, but there's not enough consistency in that. in terms of moving on to the NFL, and his run defense means that he's one of those one-dimensional perceptional prospects who some evaluators will view him more as one of those pure pass rush specialists rather than the full three-down defender. Though NFL schemes increasingly obviously value that pressure production, but his run defense isn't stellar, and it isn't up to the crack of the other team. So it depends how high Bailey goes and what order you have these guys in will depend on how much you value that run stopping, and it depends also what you need and what you have around them. But yeah, really like David Bailey, number 3 for me. But yeah, I think you're going to get double-digit sacks quite early in his career, because NFL players, and especially offensive linemen, bigger ones, are going to really struggle to be able to deal with that first step and his ability to get over the face or around the corner, that he can win in so many different ways using that athleticism.
There we go. We'll stick with you, Owen. One person left. Who's your number 1?
Yeah,
Why did you hate him?
Yeah, I wondered whether this might happen,
Okay.
and as this happened last year too. My number 1 edge rusher is Arvell Reese from Ohio State. Look, I know he's a linebacker. I just think he'll be an edge rusher in the NFL. He played 38% of his snaps in coverage last year. It's not going to be that high in the NFL. There's absolutely no way he's paying him close to 40% of his snaps in coverage, because if you're using him wrong in that way, yes, he can do it and he's excellent at it, but his most effective plays come when he's able to rush the passer. 10 tackles for a loss, 6.5 sacks in 2025. Sorry. And he's just a prototypical that hybrid linebacker edge who's got rare range, violent play strength, disruptive impact, and he's a defensive chess piece who brings both physicality and sideline to sideline athleticism on every play. Say 38% of his snaps in coverage, 23% pressure rate when he is playing off the edge, and he recorded a sack on 6.6% of his pass rushing snaps. So he is highly productive. 6'4", 243. He is light. We're going to talk about whether he needs to put some weight on at the NFL, but that explosive athleticism, leveraged, ranged, nuanced athleticism, and still growing. Arvell Reese is an absolutely exceptional prospect who I think will have one of those Micah Parsons-esque runs where he just transitions full-time to the edge quite early in his NFL career. I'm not comparing the players. Everyone's going to do that. I hate comparing players, but I'm on about stylistically how Parsons was quite early on, was gone from just a kind of a pass rushing outside linebacker to putting him on the ball full time. So I can see Arvell Reese having to do that very early, but in terms of everything else he can do at 243 pounds, I thought he was extremely strong, much stronger than his size would give him in terms of being able to engage blockers with leverage, elite instincts, that is coverage instincts even to pursue angles and handle open field responsibilities was excellent. Weaknesses, while he's athletic, I think in coverage he could be a bit tight to turn his hips every now and again. Don't care because I'm playing him on the edge, and he is still really technical and raw as a pass rusher, but I'm banking on that upside because I think Arvell Reese is one of the top 3 players in this class.
Yeah, I will have him as a linebacker.
Yeah, and you'll have him as the top linebacker as well.
I think he's an unbelievably good player. But for me, just the kind of things that we like and we talk about, I would want him being a sideline to sideline defender, see, seek, destroy. Coming at running backs, taking tight ends, absolutely everything. Put him on his plate. I think he can handle it. And I fear that he might end up going to edge, and I look really stupid at that. But I think there will be some teams who will want him as that roving linebacker who just blitzes, covers, takes on tight ends, takes on running backs, and that's where I really like him.
Yeah, I would be fair. I like him at both. He'd be a top edge. I'm a top linebacker. Let's be completely honest. It's just trying to find that role for him. And I do wonder as well, that we're talking. You're going to see him mocked to the Jets at number 2 all the time. I'm not sure if the Jets want to use him as a traditional linebacker, whether they're taking him at 2, because the money just doesn't make sense. I think they would have to play him majority of the time off the edge. And I think most teams, if you're looking at a top 5 pick, they'll be looking to utilise him more as a pass rusher. Just because of that, to explain there, so that just makes no sense otherwise. That the money different in terms of what you pay a top 5 pick to what the top dollar you'll get as a linebacker won't be as high as the difference between what you get as a top 5 pick and which could be like 12 million a year, something like that, to be a top 5 pick. But if you're an elite pass rusher, you're getting 40 million a year. There's a big gap. And that's why teams tend to take that position early rather than linebacker, which will be considerably less.
There we go. We shall see. But either way, he's pretty talented.
Very.
Expected to go early. So there we go. That's our defensive end. Fine, you mentioned your number 6, Stu. Well, and a Winer. Any other names that just missed the cut?
Yeah, we're gonna have to talk about Keldric Faulk from Auburn, I think.
He was 6 for me.
Yeah, he would have been 7 because of how.
Yeah, so we see him very similarly. Big, strong, powerful. I think he does have a good kind of off the ball burst. I see him really much more as that kind of really good setting the edge in the run game. He's not as explosive, and I don't think he's going to be disruptive towards the quarterback, which I think is when you're taking a edge player, that's what you really want them to be if you're taking them so high, unless you're the Jacksonville Jaguars and pick them number 1 overall. But that kind of mold, I think that he, very good player. I do like Keldric Faulk, but just not as explosive and not as disruptive as I would like someone to be picked a bit higher.
Yeah, he's a great run blocker. I like him. I think he's a first-round player also. It's just how these have fallen, how the rankings have fallen. What he can bring, he's 6'6", 285 pounds, and he's only 20 years old. We're talking about a player who's only scratching the surface of what he's become. Problem is, we've now done this for many years, and we've said that about a lot of prospects. And I saw someone, I don't know who it was, but someone posted on Twitter about the comparison as a prospect between him and Lucas Van Ness, and I can't get it out of my head because it just didn't work in the NFL.
Yeah, it hasn't really happened for him, has it yet?
In terms of you're taking the physical profile, because if he was even average as a pass rusher, that's a potential top 10 pick, because he looks the real deal. He's got the run blocking. He just doesn't create enough pressure. It's about less than 10% pressure rate in 2025, but exceptional run defense tape, which stands him as one of the top players in this class for that reason alone. But the same as Howell, as that was Cashius Howell, as we were saying before, and even David Bailey to a certain extent, that if you're going to be one-dimensional in the NFL, that one dimension has got to be rushing the passer, because teams just aren't going to value that as highly moving in otherwise, because you're then banking on whether you think you're going to be able to instill that into him, because I just didn't see enough juice at all as a pass rusher for how athletic he is, and he is very athletic. There were just too many times I just didn't see the athleticism, and when it did, it tends to be reactive, and it wasn't quick enough to be able to make plays as a pass rusher.
I think leverage is an issue.
Yeah.
I think he plays very tall, and that allows them these offensive linemen. When I talk about offensive linemen, getting underneath.
Yeah.
He gets so people get underneath him too much. I would like to see him play a bit lower and try and use that leverage a little bit more.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that would be something that he, as I say, he's only 20. If you want to take him potentially for 5 years and mold him, exactly, who knows, in a couple of years he might.
There's a path for it. He's just a bit of a rabbit in the headlights at the moment. In the first instance off the snap, there's no plan beforehand, and I think he needs to continue to be able to read pre-snap to identify those blocks, which means he can get off them and using that leverage, like you said, to have a greater impact on every down. But if he can, then he's a very good player there, and I think someone more likely will take a punt on him in the first round, because you don't get players who look like this very often at that age.
Good stuff. Any more? Keep an eye out for.
I think there's a couple of guys just kind of underneath that tier who are still potentially effective players at the NFL level. We've got the likes of Romello Heights from the Texas Tech, R. Mason Thomas as well. And even kind of behind that, maybe Derek Moore from Michigan as some of the guys who might be day two picks and taken in to develop or play specific roles for teams as well. I think that's maybe the next group of guys after the ones we've mentioned.
Yeah, I think one player to watch out if he tests well would be Zion Young from Mizzou, because I think if he has any good like combine testing or pro day testing, he could be one that you think, hang on a minute, we're now speaking about him in the back half of the first round. I wouldn't be surprised. I don't have him that high. I would have him as 11 in this class. I like Malachi Lawrence from UCF, R. Mason Thomas from Miller High above him. I just didn't see when he won, it was kind of, he was freed up. He didn't win naturally in many instances in terms of his sack numbers. But I think, again, he's going to be one of those players that they look and think, oh, there's a project here that we can fall in love with.
Overall, a pretty good class for edge rushers, though, I think.
Yeah, and even we go further down than that. Even there's lots of. I wouldn't be surprised if you see 25 edge and defensive tackles go over the first three rounds. The first 2 days. If you could be looking at somewhere close to a quarter of the picks being defensive line.
Exciting stuff. Talking defensive line. Catch our next episode where we will be doing the defensive tackles. There you go. Oh, quickly, guys, before we go, remind the listeners/watchers of your top fives, please.
Yeah, so at 5, I had TJ Parker from Clemson. 4 was Cashius Howell from Texas A&M. 3 was David Bailey from Texas Tech. 2 was Rueben Bain from Miami. And my number 1 edge rusher was Arvell Reese from Ohio State.
Yeah, so I had at number 5 was also TJ Parker from Clemson. At number 4, I had Akheem Mesidor of the Miami Hurricanes. At number 3 was Cashius Howell. At number 2, I had Rueben Bain Jr., also of the Miami Hurricanes. And number 1 for me was Texas Tech's David Bailey.
Well, there we go. As I mentioned, defensive tackles coming up next. Keep an eye out for that. In the meantime, take care of yourselves. We'll see you very soon. Thanks for listening.